guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's class we'll be talking about the functions. We're talking about the Python functions. Okay, so our code all this while have been line by line, just sequential like that. Okay, but what if we have some operations that you want to execute multiple times? Now loading them in your code, maybe that particular line of code is like 5, and you execute them multiple places. So loading them and loading them inside your code will make the code look so bulky and so dirty. So functions are used to develop our code in modules. You can create different modules and then call each of those modules to come and execute, just like a subroutine. Okay, let's say you always want to be adding numbers, multiplying numbers. You can develop a function to do this, and then whenever you want to add a number, you now call the function and it will come and add those number and go. Okay, now you only need to define your additional lines of code in one place and not defining them in multiple places, as wherever you are going to do what require the function. So a function helps us to arrange our code in modules, so that when you actually want to do a particular function, you'll be able to do what? Call that particular module, and that particular module will be executed. Okay, so the function helps us to divide our code in modules. You can have an unlimited number of functions in your code. The only thing you need to know the names of all these functions and what they do, so that at any way you need them, you'll be able to call that function and it will be executed. Okay, so let's how does this function work in a code? So let's write a simple code now. So I have a simple code here that I have two variables. Let's say a is equals to 10 and b is equals to 20. So I want to print the addition of these two numbers. Okay, so I can actually say print, so I'll be using a formatted string here. So I'll say the addition of, and is, I'll now say a plus b. Alright, so inside here now I'll have a, and inside here I'll have b. So this is just the addition of a and b is a plus b, and I did the actual addition here. Alright, so let me run my code. So the addition of 10 and 20 is 30. That is what I have here. So I might want to run several additions, or I'll have subtractions, as the case may be. So I can actually have this line of code here in a function. So anytime I want to run an addition, I will just call it. So this is just the simple way a function works. Okay, so let me say I have another line of code here. I will say print, I will say I want to run addition. Alright, so this is just a prompt saying I want to run addition, and then other code for the function will come below. Then how can you actually define a function in your code? So you can define a function in the topmost part of your code. That is how the Python code works, in the topmost part of your code. And to define a function, you use the keyword def, def, just like this. So once you put def, the interpreter already knows, oh, this guy wants to define a function. And then the next is the name of your function. Now, while naming your function, it follows the naming rule of identifiers, because the name you are giving to your function is identifier for that function. So it follows that naming rule. And then you also use names that you can easily remember, things that are related to what you are doing. So want to create a function for adding numbers. Okay, so I can just call it addition. or let me say add number. So this is easier. So once you write the name of the function, you add a parenthesis. Okay, this is the heading of the function. Okay, the heading always ends with a colon. The heading always ends with a colon. And when you get to the next line, you see that it already has an indentation. All right, this indentation, every code that comes under this indentation is under this function. So once I start coding away from this indentation, the interpreter understands that, oh, he has left the function. So I can actually have this, my code now can actually come here now. All right, so this my code can actually come here now. And inside this addition now, I am now saying a is equals to 10, b is equals to 20, and I am now printing, oh, the addition of a and b is, I will now run the actual addition here. So me sending a prompt here, I want to run a function. So I can now call this function here. Remember, we have just defined our function. So this is what we call your function definition. All right, so this is just the simplest way you can actually define a function in Python. So what we have to do now is to call the function. So calling the function is telling the interpreter to come and execute this. So to call the function, we are just going to write the function name here, and the function name is add number, and we add the parentheses. That's all. We've just called this function. So what happens here is, when the interpreter comes to interpret this code now, it sees this def, it knows, oh, this is a function. It's going to jump it because it's a function. And it will start from here, where the first place you started executing your code without having an indentation. Okay, let me remove this extra line. So it will execute this print, I want to run addition. And at this line now that I has add number, it's going to search for the name of this function in this code, in where you define your function. And once it sees this add number, it's going to execute these 3 lines of code. And once it's done executing this last line, it will come down here and continue whatever I have below here. This is how a function works. Okay, so this is just the simplest way a function works. So I can actually run this code now. I can run the code now, and let's see what happens. So you see that it was able to go and run this function and come back. So let me have maybe another print statement here. I'll say done adding. So it will help us to understand that after executing this, it will come down and execute whatever that is below here. You see, we started our code. It had a function add number. It ran to this function to add the number, and once it's done, it came back and then did this last line. This is the simplest way a function works. So I can have multiple functions here. I can have add number, subtract number, divide number, multiply number. So let me quickly add some of those functions. So I'll say def subtract number, so and here I'll have the number. I'll say a is equals to 20, b is equals to 10. So I'll now say point, so I can say the difference between is, so inside here I will now have a minus b, and I will now have the difference between a and b. So we've actually talked about the formatted string, so I believe we are following with what I'm actually doing here. All right, so this is the subtract number. So I can actually run this. I can, okay, let me add a print statement. I can say print, so, and here I will now say subtract number, sub number, and then I can also say print done subtracting. All right, so this is just it. So I can run this function. I can run this code now, and you see it says I want to add number. It added the number. Done. Subtracting numbers. The difference between 20 and 10 is 10, and it said done subtracting. So this is the simplest way you can easily define a function in your code. Now, remember, if I have variables in my code here now, so let's say I have a variable here. Let me add a variable here. I can say that the variable x is equals to 30 or 40, as the case may be. So this is a variable. I cannot access this variable in any of these functions if I did not pass it to the function. So this is just the variable I created here. Okay, so if I also create a variable in a function, once the function line is done, that variable is terminated. Okay, I can't access it any other place in my code. So if I created a variable in my code and I want to work with it in my function, what I will do is to pass that variable to my function and then work with it and probably maybe give the result. So let's say that these two variables, the a and b, I don't want to declare them in my function because in this function both of them can be different. So I want to have a static value in my code. Okay, so I want to have a static value here. I can actually say a probably is equals to 20, and I will say b is equals to 15, as the case may be. So I want to have this value in my code, or I want to be reading them from the user. Then when I read them from the user, I want my function now to add them, subtract them. You see that hard coding the value inside this function is actually not going to work. So what we are going to do is to pass this variable to that function. So when you are calling your function, you can pass what is called an argument to the function. An argument are values that you pass to a function. Those are the arguments you pass to a function. So while calling the name of this add number, I can actually pass a and b. So I can say take a and b. So what I did here is I have passed an argument to this function now. So you can actually pass as many arguments as possible. I can pass as many variables here as I want. So passing them here now, I am sending them to this function so that this function can actually pick whatever I have here. Now for this function to pick this argument I am passing to it from my code, I need to do what? Add the parameters here. So I need to declare the parameters that will pick this argument. Now I want to show us something. I already passed this argument here, but I didn't declare my function to take those parameters. Let me run this code. I returned an error, said the add number takes no position argument, but two were what given. So I have given it two arguments, but it takes none. So I need to make this particular function able to do what, to take this argument. So I will also declare two variables at the definition line at the header of the function to take these two variables that I'm passing to it. So I can use the same name I have here. I can use different name. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. I can use the same name. I can say A and B. I can use different name because both of them will not what interfere with each other. So but for to make us to understand it better, I'm going to use different, I will say X and I'll say X and Y. All right. So remember to have your comma here, X, comma, Y. Then I am going to delete these two lines of code now. So I don't need them again. I will now be working with these two variables. So what I will now do is here I will pass X and here I will pass Y. I'll pass y. Okay. Now, the first argument here, the first argument I pass here is this first parameter. Okay. This second argument is this second parameter. So in the order in which I'm picking them here is the order in which I am going to pass them here. All right. So if I run this, I am going to be running the addition of these two. So I will still do the same in the subtract. I will now say a, b, and when I get here, I can still say x and y. I say x, y, and this side here I will have x, I'll have y, and so what I will now have here is x minus y. Likewise, here I'm supposed to have x plus y. All right, then I don't need these two lines again, so I'm going to take them out. All right, so this is me passing argument to my function and receiving it. Then let me run this code now. So if I run this code, you see that I was able to get the values that I have here now. So let's look at the addition. The addition said the addition of 20 and 15 is 35. Which are these 20 and 15 I have here? And it said the difference between 20 and 15 is 5. So it was able to work with this value. Now, I can easily change only this value without wanting to change whatever I have in my function. Okay, so I can pass any value I want. So anytime I want to add two numbers, I already have a function that will do that for me. And that function is very dynamic. Okay, so I can easily call the function, add numbers, and it will be able to add two numbers very well. So this is just what functions are. So I can say that this is 350 and this is maybe 285. Okay, and I will run my code. It's very dynamic. It got 350 and 285. Okay, so let me make this number bigger. So let me say that this is 430. Okay, and I will run my code. So you see I got a negative here because this is higher than this, so their difference is minus 80. Just as simple as that. So I already have a function that is working with the values I have here. So these values, you can easily pick them from the user. Okay, I can have a line, I can have two lines of code here that will say enter first number, enter second number, as the case may be, and you'll be able to enter those values from the user, not necessarily getting them static from here. So let me have that line of code here. Now I can say int, so I can say let me comment these two out. Okay, comment this and comment this. Then I will now have a is equals to int input. So I can now say enter first number, then b is equals to int input enter second number. All right, so just as simple as that, and I'll be able to take those two values from the user. All right, so enter first number. First number is 500, second number is 450, and it will tell you the difference between the addition of 500 and 450 is this, and then the difference is just as simple as that. So we've been able to do what? Create a function to add these two numbers. Now, one more thing. What if I want my function now to after adding this number, not just printing it, because you know that inside this my code now, I don't have access to this added value. Okay, so I want my function after adding this number, it should return the sum to this my code. I want to make use of the sum inside this my code now. Okay, I want to make use of the sum inside this my code. So but before I do that, this function that we declared here, like this, the print statement, this is just how it was declared inside the Python code. Okay, this print statement now. So let's have a look. Okay, so look at where we have the print statement that we always passing value. So this is the print statement, and look at the parenthesis and look at the arguments it takes, and then look at the definition. Okay, so it will still look a bit shady in our eye because it's quite advanced. So it's a function and it was defined. Okay, so I just thought I should show us this before we go on. Then some other functions like the int takes something and returns something actually. So we're going to be looking at that. So if I want this my function to return, maybe if I want this sum, after adding these two numbers, I should return the sum to my code so I can make use of it. So what I will do here now is, instead of having this, maybe I will declare a variable here now, and I will say sum is equals to x plus y. Alright, so and inside here now I will now say sum. So after this, I can easily do what? Say return sum. So what I'm doing here is I am telling this function, okay, after doing this, return this value back to the user. Since I have this return here, how do I pick it from my code? How do I pick it from my code? I am going to declare a variable here to pick whatever this my function returns. So to declare the variable, I can call the name maybe add, let me just say a3d, okay, and I'll now say is equals to this function. Okay, the name of this function is add number. I created a variable, this variable add. I will now say is equals to this function. So saying is equals to this function, this equal sign will assign whatever this function has to return to this man. So you only do this when your function returns something. But if your function doesn't return something and you have this, it's going to return an error. So you do this only when your function returns something, just as we do in this int. This int returns whatever it converted to integer. So that's why we are going to do what? Pick this and then store whatever it returns inside here. So that's the same thing we are doing here, and we now have the return sum here. So I can do the same for the subtraction. I can say sub is equals to x minus y. Okay, then here I can just have the sub, and here I can say return sub. My return is not right. I need an R here. Yes, so and inside here now I can now say that the sub is equals to subtract this and this. Okay, so to actually check whether what we got is right, I can easily pass it to this function, to this print here. Let me just, so that it will print whatever we got, and we'll say, oh yes, we are still what? Right. Okay, so let's run our code. So we should enter the first number. The first number is 34. Second number is 27. So, and you see what we got. He said the addition of 34 and 27 is 61. And I said done adding, and I was able to print what it returns, saying what? 61. The same thing goes with the subtraction. The difference is 7, and I was able to print this 7 here. That was so that yes, it was the same thing that will send back that we actually got here. So this is just the simplest way you can actually do what? The declare function, and the function body. This is the function heading, the function body, and this is the return value. So we'll declare the function, a simple function, to do a simple addition. Then we'll pass argument to the function and picked it in the function as a parameter. And then we're able to do what? Return a value from the function. So with this, I believe that we've covered the basic thing we need to add in a function. So in your code, you can now add maybe 2 more functions to do what? Return the multiplication and then the division of those two values that we have here that we actually pass. So you can declare a function that will do what, multiply those numbers and return it, divide those numbers and do what, return it. So it's as simple as that. So you now see that this function also makes our code very neat, because I might want to have multiple summing, multiple addition here, multiple subtraction, but I just have them here. I can just easily just call them as neat as this, and then it will actually don't do what, execute. So this is about functions in Python. So I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you have questions, please send them to the comment section. If you're yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe and turn on the notification button, because we have more coming your way. If you like this video, if you like what you watch, please give us a thumbs up. Okay, and meanwhile, keep coding. See you in the next class.